So many of us in this country got our start to grassroots, people-powered disaster response by responding from a call by a former Panther, Malik Rahim, in New Orleans after Katrina. At the time, there were white vigilantes that were roaming the streets of his neighborhood, shooting and killing unarmed black men by the dozens. And this is the same time when people were stranded at the Superdome, not getting supplies, and folks around the country and around the world watched, kept thinking someone was going to come, and bring something, but nobody did, and so eventually we filled up our trucks and buses and cars and loaded it with supplies and drove out, responding to this call for solidarity from a former Black Panther. And most people think what made the Panthers so much of a threat was the armed component, but it was actually their survival programs. Survival programs were meant to meet people's immediate needs for survival while simultaneously raising consciousness. The Panthers' most famous one was a free breakfast program, but they also had a free grocery program. They did sickle cell anemia testing and education. They opened up clinics. They accompanied elders to their doctor's appointment and other things when they were afraid of muggings. They did community-wide pest control. And Black Panther Party prison chapters organized to stop rape and other abuses in prison. And they occupied Lincoln Hospital and Detox in New York City and made it into a comprehensive drug detox center treating addiction using acupuncture and meaningful work and things like that, along with other organizations. And I'll get back to that in just a minute, but these snails right here, they represent, they're a symbol of the Zapatistas. When, the North American Free Trade Agreement went into effect, the Zapatistas came down from the mountains and they took over city centers. They said, as soon as they, got recognition, they put down their weapons and they said our words are our weapons. But they consider what we're in right now the Fourth World War, the third being the Cold War. And so it's a war with neoliberalism on one side and humanity and the planet on the other side. The snail, it spirals backwards and inwards away from the colossal mistakes of colonialism and towards ancient rememberings. It also spirals outwards to new words, new worlds, new ways of being. And the snail, too, is humble and close to the earth. It reminds us that, even though revolutions may start like lightning, the speed of dreams, it also takes that slow, humble, painstaking, little by little work to realize these revolutions. Oftentimes, back in the day, people thought we would trade one leader out for another, one government for another, and that would somehow set us free. But more and more people are realizing that we need a revolution of everyday life. And the Zapatistas kicked off the global justice movement when the North American Free Trade Agreement went into effect. And many of us were part of that, going to the World Trade Organization demonstrations, the Free Trader of the Americas demonstrations, all these mobilizations of global capital we set up in resistance to them. And we learned through that how to set up independent media centers. We learned how to cook for large groups of people. We learned how to do street medic work, in the streets. And all these different skills in New Orleans after Katrina, they melded with the legacy of the Black Panther Party, and we were able to create many programs that responded to people's self-determined needs in really powerful and lasting ways.